Business is changing. Ideas are everywhere. It was never so easy to be successful. What is keeping you from starting your own business, from changing your life? We want to give you the opportunity to listen and learn from real business people. My name is Diogo Bronze, and this is Lisbon Unlimited. Build a better world by improving yourself. Leave your comfort zone. The discipline and hard work today, they mean growth and happiness tomorrow. Tune in, listen, and share.
Sure.
Welcome everyone to Lisbon Unlimited. My name is Diogo Bronze. My guest today is Joy Abdullah. He is a strategic marketing leader who makes marketing be a strategic differentiator for businesses by marketing inside out. Using data, collaborations, and stories, Joy creates employee advocacy that leads to customer engagement. He is the co-founder of 3 Minute Marketing, which is a strategic marketing advisory company, and he also brings a very human and simple approach to business that comes from having over 3 decades of experience in strategy, marketing, and business operations across Asia. That is an impressive CV that you have here, Joy. I also checked your LinkedIn. You're a person with loads of experience in the APAC region and across the globe, I would say. And thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, Diego. I'm honored that Lisbon Unlimited wanted to host me. And right across the other side of the world, it fits with what I'm doing. So it's a pleasure, it's an honor, and I'm delighted to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. You're so kind. Joy, I wanted to know, first place, I'm always curious how people end up doing what they love and how they specialize in what they're doing. So if you could explain a bit, how did you specialize in marketing and how did it all started? Nobody lands in marketing like by chance, right?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't know if nobody lands, but I can tell you this, I did it. Honestly, uh, well, this is going back about 32 years. I was finishing my B school. I was in the
Mhm.
last sem. I was about to graduate out. And I had a career path all mapped out. I was specializing in finance. I was going to go into Forex in banking, and then I was going to go and specialize in M&A and get into corporate finance. So I had this map, 5 to 6 years, getting out of business school in those days with an MBA that, pinstripe suit, the banker. I know I understand money. I come from a family where my father, who was my
Mhm.
idol and my mentor, is a chartered accountant, and everything was always on the financial side. And I remember as we were coming to the end of the program, my head of marketing, a dear soul who I very highly respect, and he's passed on now. He one fine day suddenly calls me to his room and he says, Joy, look, we need to send a few guys over to, he named an ad agency, which is a global ad agency for interviews. They've opened their doors very kindly to us. And I said that, sir, you know, I'm a finance grad. My marketing is my minor. And this is an ad agency. I mean, I've just got one paper on advertising. It's not really an expertise. What do you, he said, take my advice, do me a favor. I believe you're very aptly suited for advertising and marketing. So just for me, can you go and do the interview? Because the gentleman who's the general manager of the company is a dear friend. So, I said, all right, fine. I mean, I got our interview. So I went home, I looked up, and these was pre-internet days, so you don't Google to find out about the company. So you actually had to go to like a library, a company registrar,
And
find
read
out.
books.
Yeah, so you actually do some legwork. Well, I got whatever I could. The agency was J. Walter Thompson back then.
Mhm.
And so I went for the interview. I suited up, wore my banker suit. I went for the interview, gave the interview, and the gentleman asked me, and he said, tell me, why are you suited to be in advertising? I said, to be very honest, I don't think I'm suited to be in advertising. I'm here because my head of marketing recommended that I come for the interview. Now, I don't want to waste your time, but honestly, I have no clue if I'm suited for advertising or not. The next question was that, what do you find challenging? I said, curiosity. And he asked me, explain. I said, well, I'm curious about a lot of things. And what I love to do, I had originally wanted to be a lawyer. I didn't have the grades in my A levels to get into law. So I went into, Bachelor of Commerce, and then I went into my MBA in finance. And he took that answer and he said, okay, right, we'll be seeing you. Literally 2 days later, I had a phone call, the old fashioned, dial analog phone, got a phone call and said, could you pop over to the office? We have your appointment letter ready. And I went across and I got this appointment letter. And I remember it was, I think my starting salary was around 800 pounds, if I remember correctly, a month. 800 pounds is roughly about.
When can you? What was the year?
1986. 1986.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And I'm like, whoa, this is like big bucks for a single dude. I was like going on to what, 25, turning 26.
It was really a really big salary.
Yeah. And so that was it. I mean, I went on board. I went into J. Walter Thompson. They used to have a beautiful induction, training, development, and everything. And the more I got into it, the more I started loving the science behind marketing, the science behind advertising. And these are, mind you, pre-tech days. These are way before .coms, and these are way before marketing technologies the way we know it. These are days where if you're talking to an art director, the art director is actually drawing on a piece of paper with a particular pencil. You're talking about a font, they're actually creating the font. So I just, I took to it. I love the science. I like the psychology behind consumer buying behavior. And I didn't look back. It was a brilliant job. It was with one of the best global companies. B, I had an excellent team. I was a small fry way down the ladder, a management trainee kind of thing. Performance was rewarded. I became an executive in about 5 months. I became a senior executive in a year and a half, which is how it works back then.
All right.
And that was my introduction and entry into marketing.
And which platforms would you advertise? Because nowadays it's too easy for us to. Internet changed the world, right? You have an idea when you're looking at a subject like marketing or sales. At least you might not be an expert, but you understand that it goes from A to Z. Yep. So we can advertise this way or this way. Where were you advertising back then, or which platforms? And was it harder than today, or is it the opposite? Or was it easier?
I think the good part is because I use a lot of tech in my work. I have been using over the last 20 years. So the first 14, 15 years of my career, the only mediums available were the traditional, what we would call above the line. You have the print, the newspaper, the magazines, the billboards, the sidewalk boards. These were the primary, supported with, you didn't have email marketing. So we had something which was a level below print marketing, where you would create flyers and you would do a post drop, which is literally send like a letter to a particular address. Okay. So these were the primary ones. But the second layer support was actually on-ground events. So depending on whether it's retail or it's even business to business, you would tend to bring your trade or your clients to a focal meeting point. So it's a bit like how Apple and Microsoft do their product launches. You have this annual Jamboree, iPhone 11 plus other stuff. There's one product that's the king that attracts everybody to come in. Then you do a whole drama and theater around the unveiling of that. And then you say we have products XYZ. So that second layer used to be very, very important in marketing, I would say. So you had the advertising through print and the traditional out-of-home mediums. You were supporting it through flyers and everything in terms of drops. Oh, you had telecalls. Telecalls were extremely, extremely important, especially in retail, to try and get the crowd to use the product. So telecalls, I'll give you an quick example. So let's say today we use Starbucks or coffee chains or cafes use this location mapping of their target audience, and they send you a quick WhatsApp or a short message to say, this is a valid 11 a.m., 1 p.m. You're getting 20% off on this latte or that cheesecake. All right. But it's really valid that day, that time. And it's based on your location, because they can see on a location grid that you are in and around a walking distance, a couple of blocks away from one of their Starbucks. So they ping both ways, right? Okay. What we used to do in those, I won't call it the good old days, as some people might come down my throat. The telecall would actually give an offer which is valid for, let's say, a week or a fortnight. So it's a sales discount that is valid to certain members. So you'll get a membership sign up. This is where the loyalty side reward program started emerging from. And because you sign up for that, you get this, which is valid for the next 7 to 10 days.
Totally.
And you go and, avail it at the outlet.
I remember that as a kid. I remember, people being targeted by those strategies. It was pretty common. Yeah.
Correct. So then what happened is, while we were going through that, mid-80s, end 80s, I would say, is when technology really started taking, and I would use this word, a quantum leap. Earlier, technology was changing like maybe once in a decade. There was minor adaptations, but a real jump really started happening with, the Apples and the Microsofts coming in, and a lot of open software coming out there. And then a few years later, you had this advent towards the mid and end of 90s. You started seeing the advent of social media in its original form starting to come. So by the time you hit 2005, the face and nature of advertising had changed. As a result of which, it was a case of the tail wagging the dog. Marketing had to, start changing about 180 degrees. And at the core of all of this, people, us human beings, we were changing our behavior because, we went from the manual typewriter to the electronic typewriter to the fax machine to telex, and then the fax machine. And then we moved on to a computer. And then computing became so fast that we started getting into a habit of instant gratification and enter social media. And it's made marketing brilliant. I mean, I look back at the first 15 years of my life. I love it because I got a real strong foundation on the good old classical 4 Ps of marketing. Peter Drucker, price, product, promotion, place, that kind of stuff. I'll have to be very honest here. All of that is absolutely useless today. Absolutely.
But you have the concept about people.
That's right. You have to now move. In this last 20 years and 2 decades, the world has moved away from looking at the product perspective, talking out. It's from the product talking to the people. It's become the people talking for the product. So that's a 180-degree change in perspective. And what that 180 degrees has done, in addition to the technology that's come up, is, and I'm sure you could see a ton going around on this, it's supposedly made marketers' lives difficult, right? And this is where I'm going to separate out and say, if you want things to be difficult, things will be difficult. But actually, marketing has become so simplified, that the necessity of a chief marketing officer has near about gone. And I'll give you one piece of data. It's out of Harvard Business School. 2019, they ran a study. It's an article out there. You can. I think it's something to the extent, "Are CMOs necessary?" or "Are CMOs going extinct?" Something to that. They ran a study. They used a Standard & Poor indexes of companies to find out. And the finding was this: as technology increased, the importance of the CIO and the CTO in the organizational hierarchy quadrupled, okay? And the importance of the CMO decreased
was reduced,
by 30%, all right? So what that tells is that as technologies come in, technology started wagging how marketing should be done. And this is why I said I'm going to differentiate myself. Technology is a fantastic enabler. Example, Diego, I could get you a Lamborghini right below your apartment right now, or even the best Ferrari, right?
I would love it.
Although, I know you'd love it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to sustain it, but it would be pretty nice to see.
Sustain is stage 2. Imagine stage 1. You've got either of these monsters which you love, you're drooling, you're taking a lot of pictures with it, but you don't know how to drive. It's, the whole race car.
Yeah.
You can't do anything with it, right? You're still calling it Uber. Okay. The point I'm trying to make here is that the technology is fantastic. It does a lot of great stuff, providing the input into the technology is equally great. And the input has to come from humans, because this is my principle. At the end of the day, however far back we take it, business is about people. Business commercially was created to benefit the community because somebody has something that somebody needs. So
Yes.
bring it in. You have the Adam Smith School of Economics. If you want to go by that, one man's expenditure is another man's income. So business was meant for somebody to spend and somebody to earn. Now, forget about what all has happened ethically and stuff like that in between. But if you take it from that premise and you say, in marketing, my brand has to have a value for my customer. And if there is no value, then why would the customer want to engage or buy me? Now, the value, and I take this home all the time in my content, it's not in the product feature, in the price, in the distribution, in the place, or anything that is from the organization. The value is on the perception the community or the customer, the prospect, the employees have. Why? Old English phrase, perception is reality. And whatever you perceive, you believe that to be your reality. Therefore, and perception has three layers. You know, there's social, functional, and emotional. 98%, and people can kill me for this, this is my number, 98% of us take our decisions emotionally, simply because we are human beings. We then rationalize that decision to feel good about it. But actually, it's our heart making a decision. That's how we buy. That's how customers are. That's how, as employees, we join companies. Now, this is the whole reason, this beauty over the last 20 years that I'm sitting, I'm learning, and I'm practicing, makes me love marketing. I'm not in your face marketing. I do not believe in selling. I do not believe in price discounts. What I believe in is find a value from your customer and your employees, communicate that value as a story that here's what I have. And you know, that's value will resonate with your people, your communities, hopes and aspirations and fears. That's what drives us as a human being. When it resonates, you have engagement. When you have engagement, in comes a classic model called IDA: awareness, interest, desire, action. Boom, sale. And you spoke about you can't sustain a race car. A customer that engages from that value perspective will always buy you, even if they have to go to 2 shops or 3 shops when you are not in stock. Now, this is where that issue of not in stock does not exist anymore, because technology has allowed us to go online shopping. Technology has allowed us to save the time of not having to walk anywhere and just order and have it delivered, right? We've now gone down to a point where you can order your frappuccino, your latte, your coffee, your beer. I mean,
whenever.
You don't have to step out, right? So this is what makes marketing for me so very brilliant. It's got psychology, neurology, leadership, organizational design, culture, and then comes the whole bandwagon of brand management, brand identity, brand personality. So I've had a love affair with marketing 30 years.
I can tell. And you're so passionate about the way that you spoke about the transition. It was a really great insight on the last 20 years. And I think you managed to not only explain what happened with the online transition, but also I can tell by your passion that you really enjoyed it, and that it's still, that it makes some people, you mentioned that some people focus on the old days and they complain that it changed. I didn't felt that when you were explaining what happened, and you're just riding the wave. So, and
well, if I may just add there, you see, the biggest thing in business is people, as I mentioned a little while ago. As people, if we do not adapt, and this is a Darwinian philosophy or principle I'm bringing in, survival is not survival of the best or the strongest. Survival of the species is of those who are the fittest. And in this case, I'm using that word fittest creatively. I'm taking liberty. It means people individually, when you're able to adapt to your professional, personal, and the world and community around you, the faster you adapt, the more empathetic you are, the better you are at what you're doing in your life as a whole.
Got
And
it.
this goes back to a whole area of leadership, self-leadership. But yeah, I have my peer group. I'm a cusp between a baby boomer and a Gen X. All right, given my birth year and my age, which I will not divulge because I'm a millennial and a baby boomer body. So you go figure my age. But there are many peer group members who are grappling to understand basic technology. I mean, for me today in my work, I cannot work without my phone.
Of course.
A week ago, LinkedIn had restricted my account for 2 days because there was a hacking attempt. I can't tell you, it's like literally losing my wife, who's my best friend, buddy, and partner. It's like I can't find her. It's like that because my life revolves there. My entire work and I have a personal life, but the professional life and
It's all
everything
there.
is there. And if I can't get access to that account of mine, I might as well be like Matt Damon in the Mars movie.
Yeah, totally. And I guess everybody feels that with technology now. If you have you can have the best MacBook or the best PC, and if you're not logged in, it's really hard to work and to even like identify yourself, because we're connected, and that's like it or not, that's the way it goes.
Absolutely. And that's the main part of marketing. You see, you said it, we are connected. So coming into marketing, you've got to realize that your audience is a 24/7 interconnected audience.
Oh yeah.
That when you are looking for attention, you really got to stand out to be able to catch attention in that huge amount of noise that audience is getting in their 16 or 18 hours of the day.
Oh yeah.
So, and then you fragment it down by the channels, the social channels that you want to be in, and each person has a different requirement. I mean, each channel has a different demographic, but many of us are on multiple channels, and we are on multiple channels for multiple reasons. So which channel do you use to contact me, for example? You need those insights, and that's where data science and data bit comes in. And again, I'm sorry, I can only speak from my side. I swear by data. Data does not lie, it can mislead. But I swear by data because data gives you the best way forward. Once you've got that best way forward, you've got that insight, get hold of one of the best content people that you have in your network, in your community. Create organic content, take it to market. And I spoke to you just before we started recording about the word patience. For crying out loud, don't expect the baby to be born before the 9 months. It cannot. It's a biological, natural cycle of life. So give your marketing the time to establish itself. Everything has its own pace. If you're going to expect sales numbers in 90 days, and you started your campaign on day 1 and day 91, you say, oh, but I haven't incrementally grown, you're fooling yourself. Wait for day 365. You will have returns.
And you just reached the topic that I wanted to address. Organic content. You need organic reach on platforms. You need to pay to have paid reach as well. But most importantly, either you pay or you don't pay, you need to make content and produce items that resonate with your audience. How come most companies that I know, and if you take a look at LinkedIn and if I just take a look at my house, I'll read a couple of brands in 5 seconds. Why are they like sleeping for or not paying attention to the creation of content?
Okay. Sorry, excuse me. I had a frog in my throat. The best example I can give you is, have you seen one of those cruise liners out in the ocean and they're coming in towards the port to dock, right?
Yeah.
If you see the cruise liner, it has a certain speed, it has a certain amount that it can turn. And then suddenly the harbor master says, sorry, you're not on dock X, you're on dock Y. And the liner has to turn, right?
Oh, got it.
So what happens is they don't slam on brakes. They don't have brakes. They reduce their engine power. So there is a momentum that the ship will still float and then come to a stop. And then they turn the ship, right? And then there's a wide radius before the ship turns around and restarts back to where it has to go, right? Okay. There are lots of brands. In fact, the top 20 in the Forbes list, if I may put it, they are already doing a heck of a lot of organic content, right? The question is, there are brands below that, you know, they're large corporate brands across countries. There are large individual business houses, national business houses, brands that are in every countries, who are still thinking, if I put in more muscle power, i.e. money, I'm going to get more share of market. All right. I can't answer why exactly, but I would say that they're trying to be a bully, if I may use that word. You're trying to force something that's not going to give, because the world has changed. What has happened in the world? In the last 15 to 20 years, we've also seen a whole series of content about corporate ethics. We've seen how CEOs' salaries have shot through the roof. We've seen how much of corruption has been there in, you know, countries and companies. We've seen companies belly up, right? I'm not going to take names here. I might get shot tomorrow, but okay. The mindset from the consumer, the man, the woman on the street, has changed drastically, because one of the things that social media has done in the last 15 years odd, it's brought you and me within contact, leaving the time zone of 8 to 10 hours away. It's brought us in contact one click away. Number one. Today, it's even one step further. It's brought us to a point where you and I can quickly do this face to face to actually see our body language and say, is Diogo honest? Is Joy true? You know, now that has changed as a consumer, as individual. It has changed our behavior. It's changed our behavior to say, I do not trust that little blue signal on top which says promoted on any social media. I do not trust, given everything that's happened, whatever is the printed advertising word. Now, does that mean that companies should stop advertising? By all means, no. No, you need that advertising for your awareness, for your visibility. But what's making the difference is organic content. And in making organic content, you have to drop down to having two things. You've got to have employees who are with you. And I talk as a CEO, business owner, manager. They're with you understanding what's your vision. They're clear what's the common goal. Why are we in business and what is our brand doing? That's number one. When those employees understand that, some of those employees, and every single employee there, if any company tells me I don't have an employee on social media, that's a blatant, outright lie. You could have a policy that restricts your employee from accessing their mobile phone while at work. For example, pilots and healthcare workers and everybody, fine. But everybody and everybody under the sun who's on an internet connection, who's got a smartphone, and that's, I think, half our population, global, has a social media account, which basically means they have a voice, which basically means they have an opinion, which means when you create and you need to find out what matters to your community, your prospect group, your customer group. And you've got to create content that they start engaging and talking about. That's the organic content. And within that, there is a scientific methodology that I use. I call it the DDG, define, deepen, grow, in short, to create the brand experience. You forge a bond, a relationship with your prospect through that organic content. And I again go back. The process of organic content to give you returns is not a 90 days stock market figure. It is a pregnancy. You have to give it 9 months. It's a love affair. Hey, look, you're not going to, somebody shared this with me yesterday, so I'm going to share this with you. You finish this interview, you walk out of your place, you go down, and the first woman you see on the street, you say, hey, I want to marry you. You're going to get a slap on your face.
No story behind that.
Okay. You're not even also going to get, if you go up to her and say, excuse me, ma'am, can I pick you up for a dinner date tonight at 7? You're again possibly going to get a slap or just walk off. So to get a first date, you've got to offer something that's of value that matches with somebody whose signals you're picking up, right? So the signals is the paid advertising. The organic content is your offer for a date in a way that engages. And then when you have a date, on the second date, you don't propose or, sorry, jump into bed, censored for,
True. That's it. That's
So it's exactly the same way. Organic content needs time to create that bond. And when that bond happens, you're going to have attrition. You're going to have dropout. People who don't jive with that value system will move out. But people who do jive and not,
they'll stick to it.
some of the people happy some of the time, you can't make all the people happy all the time. And that's what I bring my perspective for paid versus organic. Both are important, but I would recommend, and I always recommend to my client, 80-20. 80 on organic, spend it on the people, the team, and the technology to grow it. 20 on paid, because your paid returns, you're spending money. That's your cash flow going out.
Yeah.
The 20%, you are spending money, but that's an investment that you're waiting to bring you a certain return 1 year down the line. So just like you invest in an asset, you know the asset is $100, you're investing, it's getting you a return of X. 1 year later, you're going to get that 100 plus X. Boom, end of story.
Yeah, totally. That was also really insightful. I do hope that organic content becomes like a priority to companies, because I've seen it happen. And like for the past 2 years, companies starting to do videos, the CEO starting to do the promotions where he speaks naturally, and it makes a big impact. We are almost on the threshold of our time. I wanted to ask, as a CMO and as an experienced marketeer, when you're hiring someone, and what you look for in a marketeer. You said that you were a finance guy, so you can. What are the best traits, or what do you focus when you're hiring a team for marketing, and how should you build that? Like, could you give us some insights?
Great question, Diogo. Great question. I mean, now you suddenly put something in perspective. I really never sat back across my roles and thought, what made me get hired? The frank truth is, what made me get hired is, of course, my skill set, the ability to strategically think. But let me sort of put this. I'm not very sure if there are common traits. My answer to that would be no. There is no common traits. But let me explain what I mean by that. You see, just like us people, individuals, we are all unique. We have a very unique fingerprint. We have very unique irises. So you and I are not same. Our personalities are different, but we can club certain personalities together. Similarly, every single company, and I've worked across 8 industries in terms of their verticals, and different companies and different sizes across Asia. I've managed brands that are from UK into the Asian market. So every company is unique, just like we people are unique. Even within an industry, every company is unique. So when you're hiring, I've never, as a matter of principle, I have never moved to a competing company, if you get what I mean. So I've worked in financial services, I've worked in higher education, I've worked in hospitality. I've never moved from the company or the institution I was working into a competitive institution. Well, not within the same year, or so to speak, after leaving that role. That's a personal principle that I don't want to work. I wanted to have a cross-section experience. So every company in every industry is unique, and their needs strategically are different. So what happens is that a marketeer brings certain common skills, just like, a couple of them that come to mind is, you've got to have 3 things. One, a clearly articulated strategic thinking, which you're able to talk not as business speak, but as a conversation. So if you tell that to somebody, what's your strategy for your brand? You're able to give it in literally like 70 words, couple of minutes in an elevator, and somebody goes, boom, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
So that's one. The second skill is personality. You've got to be an empathetic personality. And this is the hard part. You really got to work on your self-leadership. You've got to work on your self-awareness. You've got to work on your mindfulness in order to be able to resonate or understand perspectives. And you've
Totally.
got to be able to take diverse perspective. Realize that, Diego, you're coming out of Lisbon. You've got a culture that's very different to me, who's coming out of UK and Asia. Boom. So strong empathetic personality is number two. The last is you have to have, again, pardon my strong use of language, you've really got to have guts, and I'll in this case say balls, with all due
Well,
respect to a lot of women marketers who have it. You've got to have an entrepreneurial attitude. You've got to be able to stand your ground, support your team, your clarity of vision, present to your board, present to your investors, thumping the table. That's not arrogance, that's sheer confidence in
yeah.
belief that what you're recommending works. These are the top three common traits I have always looked for while going into an organization. I've been very happy when the interviewing panel, the CEO, has tried to suss this out from me, because I thrive best like that personally. These would be my giveaways, that as a marketeer, companies looking to hire at a marketing director, chief marketing officer,
Yeah,
top
and,
level.
and totally it makes sense, especially the last point. Of course, all three are really important, but hiring people with entrepreneurial skills or with the mindsets to think outside the box and really take the advantage of the time that they're using and they're putting into your company is key. And
You
especially in
see,
creative places. Yeah.
yeah, this is the slight difference between a CTO, CIO, and a CMO. The CIO, CTO, God bless their souls, they're fantastic in identifying tech opportunities and getting that tech to speed. But the marketeer actually identifies segment, consumer behavior, market, where the product can go, and what type of. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had an Uber. We wouldn't have had an Airbnb. The
Totally.
technology is, to me, secondary. It's the opportunity that something's coming where we need accommodation, where people don't want to pay hotel rates. We need transportation because people are sitting around with their cars doing nothing. So boom, I use those two as examples because they're fresh with everybody's head. But a marketeer that comes with that entrepreneurial ability is able to see, have the foresight, where is behavior and where is opportunity converging. All
Yeah.
right. And the last bit is that not everybody likes to go into business. I mean, I've been in corporate for 31 years and I'm now doing my own advisory company, but I can tell you my strength lies in being in a structured corporate setup. I'm doing it because I have a mission that I want to take, which is I want to tell businesses how being human actually helps their bottom line. I'm doing it that way. Will I say no to a fantastic offer? Oh, absolutely not. In fact, I'm looking at Europe and I'm talking to a couple of guys right now for something out of out of Luxembourg, which I'd be delighted to jump on board. And it's a global giant.
Wow.
It's got a lot of other things. But entrepreneurial mindset, that's what it does. You go ahead to do a project, you enjoy it, you give your passion, you build a team, you go away, do another thing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you always impact positively.
And
Thank you.
that's great. Now we are now behind. We have passed the usual 30 minutes time
We have.
yeah. So I wanted to ask something that is really it might be helpful for people listening. If me or I or anyone as a company wants to reach out to you in order to ask for advice or even to ask for your services, where shall people go? What they should they do?
Two places. First, LinkedIn, Joy Abdullah, you'll get me, DM me, I'm always available. Second, 3minutemarketing.biz. That's my website. Go there, drop a line in the contact, and my partner, Nick Bendel, or we're always available. We'll always revert. Nick is based out of Sydney, 3 hours ahead of me. So we're always happy. We always listen. I personally give a 30-minute free consultation to anybody that wants it. It's no cost. It's just engage, have a chat, see if we are of value to each other. And if you want to take it further, we get into a traditional discovery call, which is 90 minutes. It's $149. You can reach me. I'm available.
All right. Perfect. I do hope that this is useful because it was really, really insightful. Someone from sales, as I am, listening to an experienced marketeer talking about first how he started and how things evolved. I know it's like 30 minutes, it's nothing, but we had the perception of what happened and the changes implied, and also the passion needed to be a CMO and an effective marketeer, because it's not only about knowing stuff or hard skills. It's about, I would say, in my opinion, what you just transmitted to the audience, which is passion about what you do and really trying to not be happy with what you see, but dig deeper into each subject that you have. Either it's online marketing, either it's organic content. And I'm really happy that we could have this conversation. I do hope that this will help listeners. And if people want to reach out to you, they should do it. You seem like a really good asset for any company wanting to start business, and especially like promoting their brand and their story. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Diego. Thank you so much. I do hope it will be helpful to your listeners, and I'll be sharing this out along with you. And to end off, I'll leave it with two cliches. Do what you love, because your passion will automatically show. And when you do what you love, it keeps you healthy in the middle of all this coronavirus issues. When you're healthy in mind, you're healthy in soul. And as for being a good marketeer, I think in any profession, when you love what you're doing, you do very well. I've worked with some really brilliant salespeople, and I have to say this: marketing and sales are the conjoined twins, the arms, the right and left hand of a business, the entire body. So when those twins work together, I can tell you the fire, the sparks that flow is amazing.
It is.
Everywhere we always hear sales bashing marketing, marketing bashing sales. But actually, I have had the privilege of working in about 4-5 places in my career where, we've actually partied based on lead generation and sales closure. We've really, the word is partied. We've gone out, we've celebrated that we've broken week targets, we've broken month targets, we've achieved, above revenue targets. So yeah, I mean, if you don't love what you do, it ain't worth doing.
It won't show. Totally.
Correct.
Oh, well.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
I'm absolutely thrilled. Thank you.
And from Lisbon to Kuala Lumpur, a big thank you as well. A big thank you. And if you need anything, I'll have your, well, mostly I will be able to need something because I'm learning from you. So
Anytime.
I'll reach out to you. And if you ever need anything, reach out to me as well.
Of course. The only thing I'm trying to hope is that hopefully this will all blow over in a couple of months. I'm planning to get to Luxembourg and Munich in May. And if budgets and everything allow, I'd love to get to Lisbon because I've never been there.
Oh, you should.
And heard so much. And football.
If you want to jump, it's pretty fast, like 2 hours flight from Berlin or from any city.
It's about a couple of hours from Munich, I think.
Yeah, it's like 2-3 at the most.
Right.
So
right. Yeah.
It's really pretty fast. Joy, thank you so much again.
Thank you.
And we'll be seeing each other. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks.